We're in a moral quagmire right now, and it's by our own choosing because people are they're not engaging in critical thinking at all. They take whatever they hear online as gospel and they just go with it. And they've selected teams. Let me talk to you about what's happening in Virginia. There's a lot of things happening in Virginia, but the latest, the one that I want to start with is the Governor Spanberger, who ran as a moderate. I'll have you know. Ran as a moderate. She is now saying that she will not turn over a guy who murdered a woman at a bus stop, stabbing her to death, okay? Will not turn him over to ICE because they need a warrant. Can I ask you, and this is an honest question, why, for the love of Pete, are the Democrats so intent on protecting murderers, rapists? This guy had been scooped up off the street in Fairfax County. The police knew who this guy was because they had arrested him so many times. He had been arrested like 40 times. One of them was for rape. And they let him out on the streets. Returned him to the streets because they want to protect him and his rights. Excuse me? And so he wasn't deported. And now he's not only raped, he stabbed a woman to death. And Spanberger thinks that this is in her best interest. Honestly, I mean, that's really callous of me and cynical. I'm thinking immediately to politics. She thinks it's in your best interest to let this guy out on the street. And I really don't understand. Immigration policy can be really, really complicated. Border enforcement, complicated, okay? Work visas, asylum laws, all of that stuff. But in this case, it is not complicated at all. A woman standing at a bus stop, a normal American moment, waiting for the day to begin, waiting for a bus, and she's stabbed to death. And this isn't somebody who just slipped through the cracks one time. A guy who had been arrested again and again and again, more than 40 charges, assault, rape, and now murder, stabbing. 40 warnings that something was deeply wrong here. Can I ask you, if it is not the government's job to protect, what is their job? Because they weren't protecting you or this woman or anybody in Virginia. They weren't protecting any American by putting him back on the street. Now, here's the question that every single American should be asking. And I mean this honestly. What possible justification exists for keeping somebody like this in our communities? Can you give me one single explanation that is logical, that is not evil, quite honestly? Why? This is not an illegal immigrant that came here to make a better job working construction, make a better life for his family. That's not this story. It's not a family that crossed the border looking for opportunity. This is a violent criminal who has conducted violence, raped a woman on the streets of Virginia. Let go. Then he gets out. He stabs another woman. Not a surprise. And now stands accused of murder. But once he gets out, they're going to put him back on the street. I sincerely want to ask all of the politicians who believe this, clear and calmly, I want to ask you, what is your argument for protecting him? What is your moral reasoning here? What principle says the safety of American citizens should come second? And forget that he's even illegal. Let's just say he's a standard old born in the USA rapist and stabber. What possible reason? Because government exists to protect your rights. This is to protect you. Before healthcare, before education, before social programs, government exists to protect the innocent. That is your first job. That's your sacred duty. And if you can't do those things, Why? Hey, what are you doing? Why aren't you doing those things? And why should you even have a job? What's more important than that? If somebody enters this country illegally, okay, we can debate. And then commits violent crimes, we can debate. We can? How? Question's not complicated. The answer should be immediate. Remove the threat. Deport them. Protect the public. But somewhere along the way, parts of our political leadership began treating violent offenders as if they're the ones who needed protection. You can say little kids who came here, who were dragged here by their parents, they had nothing. You make that case all day long, and we can argue that. And you might even win, okay? But I really would like to hear the argument on this one. Really. I mean, I'm left asking a really simple question. Who are you actually working for? The murderer or the mother waiting at the bus stop? Which one? The mom or the murderer? I know it's tough. They both start with M. Every time a violent offender is released back into the community and you have a way to remove them by deporting them, every time the charges are dropped, every time the bureaucratic excuse delays the removal, the risk is not theoretical. This is not a one-off. We're seeing this over and over again. The threat is real. A family loses her daughter. A husband loses her wife. Children lose a mom. And every single bit of it was preventable. All of it. All of it. There are some things that we can't prevent. This we can. Are we a nation of laws? Are we a nation that actually cares about its citizens? You know, the Constitution protects the accused. It protects due process, and it should. But due process was never meant to become a revolving door for violent predators. Are you out of your mind? When somebody shows you 40 times who they are, you believe them. And you remove them from the society that you were elected to protect and serve. How is this controversial? How is this partisan at all? This is not ideological. This is common sense. You wake anybody up in any country in the world that understands freedom and right and wrong and ask them, hey, this guy just murdered somebody. They were arrested before for raping somebody. They've assaulted people 40 different times. They shouldn't be here in the first place. Should we keep them around, or should we turn them into the government and have the government deport them? From a dead sleep, everybody knows the answer to that one. And if you're a politician and you can't immediately see violent criminals who are here illegally should be removed immediately, you have forgotten the most basic responsibility of public service. Protect the people. This woman at the bus stop, she wasn't a political talking point. She was a mom. She was a human being. She had a life. She had people who loved her. And tonight, those people remain, and there's an empty chair at her table. So again, I would like to ask, now I know I'm not going to get a question because nobody on the other side wants to come on this program, because I'll ask you calmly, rationally, and morally, what possible justification exists for protecting somebody like this instead of protecting the American people, that mother, if there is one. I think the country deserves to hear it. The country is starving to hear it. If you have some enlightenment, share it with the people. But you don't share it with the people because there is no such thing as any enlightenment on this one. The leaders responsible, you should have the courage to state your case. And if you can't, get the hell out. Protecting innocent people is not a partisan position. It is not. It is the foundation of civilization itself. Now, what she'll say is, all I want to deport is a warrant. Oh my gosh. Let me clear this one up. Politicians, they are so smarmy. They are so dishonest. They're playing this game. And again, I ask you, they are playing the game with Americans' lives. And you keep hearing the same line, ICE needs a warrant from a judge. Okay, that sounds reasonable, right? Here's the problem. People don't understand, and they know you don't understand this. Immigration enforcement is not criminal law. When the FBI arrests somebody for murder or robbery, yes, they need a criminal warrant from a judge. One reason why you don't have this going through a judge is because you have 20 million people and not enough judges. But let's go back. This isn't done out of haste. This is immigration enforcement, and it is civil law. And Congress designed it differently. This just didn't happen under Trump. They didn't just stop issuing warrants under Trump. They've never had warrants from a judge, ever. They have what are called administrative warrants, authorized by federal law and issued through the Department of Homeland Security. And it's not some unusual loophole. Federal agencies operate this way. Do you think the IRS has to go to a judge? I wish they did, but they don't. IRS can compel records without a criminal warrant. The SEC can enforce civil violations without a warrant from a judge. The EPA can issue enforcement orders. They can come in and shut your factory down without a judge ever looking at it. Why? Because it's administrative. It's civil. So when politicians suddenly say, you know, those ICE agents, they need, where is the judge's warrant? Excuse me? Never in the history of America have we had that, because that's not the law. You know what that is? A political roadblock. That's a political game. They are intentionally, they know the rules. They've played this as a politician forever on both sides. But they know they're counting on you being so stupid and all of your friends being so stupid that you'll never figure this one out. Well, you figured it out. Instead of holding somebody safely inside a jail where ICE can pick them up, they're free to go out and stab people to death. Then ICE has to go out and hunt them down again in neighborhoods and communities, which causes all kinds of problems. It's more dangerous, it's less effective, and it makes absolutely no sense, and it has never been this way in the law. This isn't about the Constitution and your rights, okay? It's not. This isn't about due process. This is about local politicians deciding they do not want to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement, so they create a new requirement that does not exist in federal law, nor has it ever. Why? I mean, I can see, hey, little Jose, he has nothing to do. He just wants school, and mom and dad, they're working, they're busting their butts. I know people like that. Okay. We can talk about that. We're not talking about this. We are talking about people who have raped, assaulted, murdered. I mean, we have the right to ask a very simple question. Again, who are you protecting, Democrats? Who are you protecting? You're not protecting the innocent. Don't create a new excuse on why dangerous people were released back into our community when it is a lie. We can disagree, but stop lying to us. America, we must educate ourselves on how this process works. Because if we don't, if we are not educated, the press is not standing up to educate you. The press is not telling you the truth. They're standing with them. Yeah, where's that judicial warrant? There's never been a system of judicial warrants for this. Ever. In the history of America. Ever. I just want the answer to the one question. Who are you protecting? Why are you standing to protect a murderer of a mother at a bus stop instead of the mom? Why?